just waiting for that light to light up. Should be. I'm ready, Dave. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, but we are on air? Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, apparently the on-air light is not working, which is what I was waiting for. So the tech out back knows we like to start at 6. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 20th, 2023 meeting of the Auburn School Committee. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's start with introductions down here to my right, please.
Dan Poisson, Ward 5.
Brian Belknap, Ward 4.
Pam Hart, Ward 2.
Karen Matthew, Ward 3.
Connie Brown, Superintendent.
Pat Gaudier, at large.
Pam Albert, at large.
Connor Dufour, Student Representative.
Jillian Dumais, Student Representative.
Mark Conrad, Business Manager.
Sue Doris, Assistant Superintendent.
All right, welcome everyone. So this evening we're going to start our evening off. Usually I start with the consent agenda and the approval of that, but this evening we are here, we are going to start with swearing in our new ELHS student representatives. So I would ask that if both of you would please come forward. I'm going to swing around the horseshoe here.
Oh, she's going to take, okay.
So first of all, congratulations to both of these. Jillian, welcome back. And Connor, welcome to your first stint, your first term of being a student rep. So we welcome both of you. As part of this student body representative, you do a swearing in. So I'll do each of you individually. Jillian, you cruised through this last year or the year before when you did it. So I'll say it's in chunks and just repeat after me. Right? Here you go, Jillian, we'll start with you. I, Jillian Dumais. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution and the laws. Of the state of Maine. And all local ordinances. And that I will faithfully and impartially. Perform and discharge. The duties of office. Of the student representative body. According to the law. And the best of my ability. Your turn, Connor. I, Connor Dufour. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution and laws of the state of Maine. So that's my bad. That's why I like to chunk in little bits and pieces and parts. That's my bad. I was like, and as I said, I'm like, oh, I went too big, too long with that. I'm sorry. Let's do the state of Maine. Other side of the coast. We'll go like this way. State of Maine. And all ordinances. And that I will faithfully. And impartially. Perform and discharge. The duties of the office. Of student representative. According to the law. And the best of my ability. Congratulations. All right, now I'll entertain a motion for an approval of tonight's agenda, including the approval of minutes from the September 6th meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Do I have a second? Thank you, Pam. Questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you, everyone. All right, at this time, I'll open it up to public participation. Do we have anyone from the public who would like to come and address the school committee? I didn't have do we have a sign-up sheet tonight?
There was a sign-up sheet.
Okay.
There is a sign-up sheet.
Okay. Is it? So we just leave it here, or just do something ahead? Oh, okay. Okay. Welcome, thank you. You could let us know your name and your
Yes.
town. Sure.
Yes.
Welcome.
Members of the committee, my name is Jennifer Frazier, Doctor of Physical Therapy. I reside at 99 Harvard Street in Auburn. And I have a 5th grade student at Walton Elementary. I'm here with questions and concerns regarding the pending loss of Assistant Principal Megan Wood from Walton Elementary. I see by the agenda that some of this is probably going to be addressed by the superintendent's report, so.
It will. I think it's also important to remember that we cannot discuss personnel or personnel matters out here, sort of in the open. So making sure you speak in general terms. Please don't use anyone's name specifically, as you've just done, because that's a personnel matter. School committee does not have anything to do with personnel matters.
I think that that is the only instance that I've used a name, so.
Okay.
I'm obviously, like everyone else, aware that there's a staffing shortage across the country and understand that the Auburn School District is not immune to that. However, it's my responsibility as a parent of a Walton student to be certain that the Auburn School District is serving his best interests. It's come to my attention that our assistant principal is being moved to Washburn, which obviously raises concerns for where Walton stands. One of my first questions was, is when the plan was to communicate that to the families. I know this is a recent development, but having to hear about it not officially is not ideal. My son is in a large 5th grade class of 23 students being led by an uncertified educator, long-term sub. And I'm concerned about what type of supports are in place for both the students and the educator in this position without a principal. When situations arise that would appropriately be handled by a school principal, what are staff, students, and families now being advised to do? For instance, which has happened this year already, when a child, has a behavior where they flip a desk, who does the teacher turn to? What's the protocol? Who's taking on that role and that responsibility? I'm wondering if there's data to support the decision to remove the assistant principal from Walton to staff the opening at Washburn. For example, do student to principal ratios affect undesirable student behaviors, and what are those ratios? Was that taken into consideration in making the decision? I understand it to be that there are both principals and assistant principals at Fairview and Park Avenue schools. So another question is, why not fill the Washburn position with a principal from Park Ave, since their numbers seem to be similar to Sherwood, which is managed by one principal. And so why couldn't Park Avenue be managed by one person in a principal position and then an assistant move to Washburn, as opposed to leaving Walton without a principal, a full-time principal? If this is a step in the process of dismantling and ultimately closing Walton at the end of this year, I just want to urge the committee to remember that it's still an active school and until such time, and that it's the superintendent and the board's responsibility to the best of your ability to staff and administrate it as such for the benefit of the students that are still attending Walton.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to come and address the school committee?
I'll fill this out.
Hello, my name is Christopher Eugley. I have 2 students who are currently enrolled at Walton. I wanted to express concern just involving some of the recent developments, as you've already partially heard. I want to go a little further, though. I see this not necessarily, and I understand that this is potentially a great opportunity for our current assistant principal to be moved into a principal's role. I do get that. But at the same time, my concern is for the almost 150 students that are currently still within Walton. And we've seen over the last couple years what seems to be, at least to my eyes, a degradation in the what's available at Walton. You know, starting off with the removal of pre-K, and then, you know, moving the Wings program. Last year, at the end of the year, moving into this one, we lost our principal, as well as several other teachers at that time. We still had several open positions at our school, and to lose more staff, especially one as key as the principal, which at this point, I mean, it may seem like it's only been 3 weeks, but I feel like our assistant principal has already gotten to know many of our students, including my own. And my 2 children care for her deeply and are going to be saddened to see her go. So to lose a principal last year and to lose another one so close, it really is not necessarily in the best interest for the student, at least in my eyes. I understand that there are other things and under considerations that go into place, and I would love to be illuminated as to what those are. But at this point, it just seems to be a pattern where teachers and staff in general are removed from our school, pilfered almost to replace other teachers and other people in other schools. I mean, we lost several teachers. 2 years ago, we lost 2 teachers to AMS. And so again, it just seems to be a trend where our school seems to get the short end of the stick, as you know, we see that is taken potentially at the detriment of our students to help other schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come and address the school committee? Come on up, please.
Thank you. My
Hi,
name is
welcome.
Haley Warden. I live at 100 Vickery Road in New Auburn. I don't want to reiterate everything that he just said because he put it perfectly, but I also wanted to address my concern. My 3 children are at Walton right now, and moving from the chaos of the pandemic to the short staff years after that to losing their teachers, I am greatly concerned that it's taking an effect on the ability to learn by my children. I had one of my daughter's teachers last year in a parent-teacher conference tell me, when I expressed my concern for her inability to spell at her age, which was 5th grade at the time, she simply said, well, all of the iPads have spell check and that's all I have time for. So if that's the response that I'm getting last year when there was a principal, it makes me very concerned that the teachers are not getting the support that they need, and therefore the kids are not getting the support either.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come address the school committee? All right, seeing none, I'll close public participation. Thank you to all those of you who addressed the school committee this evening. Next, we have a joint presentation on Alice, and I'm not sure if it's going to be joint or if it's simply from the Auburn School Department this evening. So, Dr. Brown, I'll let you Thank take you very it away. much. I believe that Chief Moen is unable to join us this evening, and so Dr. Doris and I will take the lead with the Alice presentation. In your packet, there was a description of what the Alice program is, and spelled out: A is alert, L is lockdown, I is inform, C is counter, and E is evacuate. And included with your packet was an Alice implementation timeline. So we've been working with the Auburn Police Department for the last couple of years on what we believe is now the gold standard for student and staff safety. And it is this training program. We would like to partner with them, and we have a brief video to show you. So Dr. Doris, if you wouldn't mind queuing that up, and we can show you what Alice looks like.
Schools have typically been assumed to be a safe place for students and teachers to spend most of their day without worry. Threats have always been possible, but with our nation's most recent school tragedies, our procedure has changed to assure that all of our students and faculty know how to stay safe in the event that an armed aggressor is in the school. So today, we are going to demonstrate a program called Alice. ALICE is an acronym to remind you of the ways in which to react if faced with a situation. ALICE stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, Evacuate. The acronym ALICE is not necessarily a step-by-step procedure for every emergency situation. You may not need to utilize every step, but they are important to know and understand so you know how to stay safe if ever dealing with an armed intruder in school. Alert refers to how you learn about the situation. It's being made aware that there is an armed intruder in the building. This can be through the school intercom, your teacher, an email, a text message, or phone call. This could also be if you see the aggressor, hear gunshots, or screams. If possible, you will evacuate the building. Before evacuating, be sure that it is safe to do so and have a plan for where you are going. If it is not safe to evacuate, you will remain in lockdown where you are. Find a room that can be closed off from the aggressor and barricade the door with heavy furniture. The aggressor is less likely to waste time trying to get through a locked door or climbing over objects that you barricade it with. Remember that time is important. The aggressor's goal is most likely to cause as much harm as possible before police respond. After you barricade the door, everyone you are with must come up with a plan of action. Inform whomever you can about the aggressor. Call the police on a cell phone. Utilize the technology we have and use every day, especially if you have any information that may help catch the aggressor. If they enter the room, throw anything you can to distract them from hitting targets. If there is no way to keep the armed person out of the room that you are in, you may need to approach him or her yourself. Do what you can to subdue the aggressor. Get them to the ground, have multiple people sit on them or hold them down. Do what you can to separate the weapon from the aggressor. If you do get the weapon away from them, never pick it up or handle it. The police are on the hunt for a person with a weapon, and you do not want to be mistaken for them. If you cannot leave the room and can hold the aggressor down, do so. Place a large object or a wastebasket over the weapon. Have someone call the police to update them about the status of the aggressor. If the person is not a threat and you can evacuate, do so. If you can take the weapon with you, put it in a trash can or some other container so you are not mistaken for the shooter once you leave the room. While leaving the building, you can put your hands up with fingers spread to let police know that you are not the aggressor. The ALICE program's main purpose is to inform teachers and students how to react in any dangerous situation while in our school buildings. Remember that it stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. Your main priority is to stay safe. Evacuate or lock down if you can. Do what you can to stay away from the aggressor. Only confront the aggressor if you are in immediate danger. Thank you.
So I want to say as a parent, and I think everybody in this room is a parent of one type or another, that this topic makes me unbelievably uncomfortable, and that I wish I did not have to think about situations like this one, because I think of it through the lens of a parent. That being said, I think it's equally important and would be somewhat irresponsible of me as a superintendent if I didn't look for the best, what is considered to be the gold standard now for ways to keep kids safe. So I was a superintendent back during Columbine, you may remember, back in 90, whatever it was, 98 or so, and that the safety protocols for schools have evolved. Regrettably, there have been too many situations where schools had to change and evolve with the situation. And so that's where we are now. And one of the things that is different about this program than others that I've experienced, whether it's I Love You Guys or other programs, is that it empowers the adult and the kids to do something in the moment. You know, the days where you turn the lights out, what's it called, lights out, lockout, whatever, is not the most effective way to save lives. And that's what we're trying to do right now. And so it tells the classroom teacher or whoever is in that room, you have the power to make decisions. And partnering with the Auburn Police Department, who is very much in favor of this program, and the opportunity to do training, and we see this as a train-the-trainer model going forward for this coming year, with training late in October, if the board approves it.
that this would become the model and part of our staff development for 23-24 and then 24-25. So I'd be happy to answer questions. Dr. Doris can answer questions. Mr. Conrad's familiar with the program as well, and we'd like to hear what you have to say about it.
I'm just going to jump in. It's not a question, but I will let school committee members know that this is the, as Dr. Brown said, the gold standard now. Many districts, mine included, we are being trained in ALICE. And as a teacher, I finally feel like I finally have the authority to make the decisions that is best in the moment for the students that I am with. So I fully endorse and support this move that Auburn is shifting towards. So it's not a conversation I like either. But any questions or comments for Dr. Brown or Dr. Doris?
I have a question also. On the implementation timeline, it says September 22nd, the ASDR, Auburn School Department Emergency Response Team members will be selected. But yet the school committee isn't approving it until October 4th. So I guess I just have a question as to who these members will be, or do we have to wait until the school committee approves it before we start up a committee of members?
So, Sue, if you could talk about, because there are two different groups, Pam, it's an excellent question. So ASDIRT existed before ALICE, and it was, and maybe you can give a little bit of history on that, Dr. Doris.
That's right. The ASDIRT stands for the Auburn School Department Emergency Response Team. And this was a team that existed before ALICE. This team worked together to develop our safety protocols. And so we're reforming that team, and we are going to work on updating our safety protocols this year. And ALICE will be included in the new updated safety protocols.
Good question. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. I don't believe we have a school committee student rep report tonight. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Pam. I gotta take off my look up close glasses. Pam, sorry.
I was just going to make a comment as from the Health and Safety Committee. This is a topic we've talked about several times over the last year. We've reviewed ALICE. We had a good discussion about it. I think that again, not a topic any of us want to ever discuss, but I do like the idea of this program in that it's an active response and not a passive response. So that's just really my support as well.
Thank you, Pam. Right now they've taken off my reading glasses. Everyone else that? Okay. So student rep report. I do have a couple questions though. Do you have anything to report out tonight that you prepared? Probably not. I do have a question for you both though. How's the new EL going? Are we lost? Are people finally finding their ways?
I've been in it during the summer because my dad's been one of the head guys working it.
Yeah.
So I've been in with a few times with him, and when I went in, I was amazed how big it was compared to the old EL. I was excited that LRTC we were able to bring that over because I'm in one of the LRTC programs at our satellite location. So I don't know, and it's just a new experience, and I get to spend my senior year, and we get the new stadium. Just really good experience for me and the rest of the senior class.
Good, awesome. Connor, you want to add to that?
Like you said earlier, I have gotten lost every day. I'm only there half the time. I'm part of the LRTC program at Lewiston. I didn't make it over to the new EL facilities, which I've been told are really amazing, state-of-the-art, next level. Hopefully I get to walk through those someday soon. But yeah, every day I walk up to math class after coming back, and I'm like, where am I? I think I share that with a lot of students. We are still trying to find our ways, and we appreciate teachers giving us the leverage to not always be right on the bell.
That excuse is expiring soon, I bet that.
I hope not. Yeah, the new school really is amazing, and I do love that we do have AC this year. I am no longer dying of a heat stroke in the middle of math class or English class trying to form thoughts.
Nice. We weren't worried about the heat wave that hit, right? We were all set for that heat wave. Good. All right. Thank you both. All right. Next, Dr. Brown, Superintendent's report.
Thank you. I want to give a hearty welcome to Connor and Jillian for coming back. I got to know Abby and Gabe quite well as the student representatives to the Auburn School Committee and really enjoyed working with them. As a matter of fact, I wrote one of them a college recommendation letter. So if that's on your horizon, the offer is there. So a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank the families for coming out. I appreciate you taking time on a warm evening to come and speak with the school committee and share your thoughts. I would share with you that how you feel about your school is a sentiment shared across all 9 elementary schools, that people really love their schools here in Auburn, and it's a great testament to hear you come out and talk about Walton, because I see that too. My information is going to be kind of blended, and so I think I'll answer some of the questions with some of the data that I have here under vacancies, and then update on the principal search. So right now, we are down 10 teachers, and that is primarily in special education, and that's across all schools. We are missing 3 elementary teachers, and that primarily is in the upper grades, and that includes 3 buildings, Sherwood, Walton, and Washburn. And then we have 2 educators we're looking for at the middle school and 1 at the high school. Right now, regrettably, we have 17 ed tech vacancies, which has unfortunately been the pattern for the last 3 or 4 years. As the school committee knows, each roughly September, October, I'll update you what we have on vacancies, and that has been the pattern for a while. We are down 2 bus drivers, but we heard from Dave Fontaine, who is our transportation director, that we've got 2 people who are pretty promising who are coming to us with CDL licenses with the bus driver rider. So they're ready to go. I also want to give a shout out to Dave, who has been driving. That was a big plus in hiring that position, and he is standing in for subs and on runs, and it means we haven't had to cancel any runs yet. So big shout out to Dave for doing that. We're also missing 2 school counselors. That is at Auburn Middle School. And what we have done to cover a lot of these vacancies is a lot of people have stepped up, and we've had to combine some classrooms. For example, at the middle school, we have asked Park Ave to share their counselor, and so they have done that. And then we've asked Fairview if they will share their counselors to help cover Park Ave. And so a lot of things have been done to do our level best and make sure that, to what we can, we have not impacted students in learning. We're not alone. Across Maine and across the United States, there is a severe educator shortage. I've done this for now 25, 26 years, and every year the department issues what they call critical shortage areas. And in the past, those critical shortage areas included things like speech pathologists and chemistry teachers, and the list kept getting longer and longer and longer and longer, and now virtually every position in a school is on that list. So Maine is experiencing a critical shortage of educators, as we are too. We also have, under some of our other vacancies, things that we are always trying to staff, including substitutes. Substitutes are very hard to come by, and we do have language in one of our collective bargaining agreements, as Mr. Belknap and Chairperson Matthew know, that will provide teachers with a small hourly payment if they have to give up a prep, and that's another tool for us to use. It's not ideal, but again, we're doing our best to try to cover those vacancies. So back to the Washburn principal search, which is the agenda item. Part of my job as the superintendent is to mentor and work with up-and-coming administrators. And if there is an opportunity, then I see it as part of my responsibility to let that person know. Unfortunately, this has happened now twice at Walton. When the resignation of the Sherwood Heights principal came up last spring, I talked with Mr. Davis and asked him if he would like to be interested in that opportunity, and he was. He had been a teacher at that building, and it was a nice opportunity to move to a bigger place. When the opportunity at Washburn came along, I spoke with Mrs. Wood, and I told her that as somebody who would like to move into administration, to be able to move from an assistant principal, which is an interim position, which does not have a guarantee of moving on, to moving to a permanent principal's position, at least for the interim of the remainder of this year, would she like that opportunity? And she said that she would. And so both of those individuals have moved voluntarily into those opportunities that help both the school department and it helps them professionally. So where are we with Walton? I met with the staff yesterday, and it was their wish to advertise, and so that was placed today. And that went out on School Spring and Serving Schools, which are the two primary vehicles that we use. We are also looking at individuals within the school department who hold an administrative leadership degree, and they have expressed some interest in moving to Walton. One of those individuals is a literacy expert, and so we'll see if she would like to pursue that. And I want to publicly thank Dr. Doris, because she and I have done tag team at Washburn for the last week and this next week, as we have in other places. Some of the committee may remember I've been to Walton before, I've been to the bus garage, I've subbed at the high school, so it's not uncommon for the kids to see me, Jillian may see me again up there, to stand in for an administrator or even a classroom teacher. And so we will move that search as quickly as we can, referring to the Walton Assistant Principal search. And Sue and I will be there next week. The week after that, because Mrs. Wood will be there through the 29th. Where is Megan? If I get my dates correct. And there was a robocall that went out tonight. Actually, Megan, your letter is going out Friday, right? So Megan's letter will go to the Walton community on Friday, and will announce that she will be moving to Washburn. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Dr. Brown?
I was wondering if you could explain, I think they asked why this is an assistant principal position, because it strikes me based on what you said that there's always going to be that risk of someone wanting to leave for a full principal position. So just for people to know how that's determined.
Sure. So we have two elementary schools with assistant principals. One is the East Auburn Community School, and the other is Walton Elementary School, largely driven by the number of students. According to the Essential Programs and Services model, for a full-time administrator, you should have 250 students. And Walton is under that by about 100 kids, actually a little bit more than that.
Dr. Wren, can you speak to, so we have some buildings that have principals and APs. Can you help just to clarify in our minds again, why do some of our buildings have both and some of our buildings have an assistant, some of our buildings only have a principal, some of our buildings have both?
Thank you. So the general purpose aid formula, which is the Essential Programs and Services model, is what drives student ratios. Mm-hmm. And so if I take Fairview with over 500 students, 250 per administrator would give you 2 administrators. Okay. If I look at Edward Little High School and I look at the number of administrators, roughly 1,000 kids, 4 administrators, 250 students per administrator. We have 1 administrator, a principal at Sherwood Heights. We have 1 administrator who is a principal at Park Avenue. We have 1 administrator at Franklin Alternative School. I'm trying to think what I have left out. And 2 at AMS, because AMS has over 500 students.
Okay. All right. So what I'm hearing in what you've just said, as far as the principal search goes, is that we've had voluntary transfers out of Walton, and now we need to replace at Walton.
That's correct.
Okay, and you'll be looking, and the staff would like for you to do a full search, not only in district, but advertise, and you're doing in and out of district.
That's correct.
Okay, that's going to be really tough this time of year, but hopefully the right people will fall there. And in the meantime, the building will be supported by yourself and Dr. Doris.
Yes, at least. Also, Laura Shaw, who is the Director of Special Education, was already at Walton for a day a week anyway.
Okay, so a parent brought up the point, if we have a student flip a desk, there is an administrator that will be there to support the classroom.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Okay, any other questions for Dr. Brown? Clarifying statements? Go ahead, Clarissa.
One of the people also raised a question, it mentioned that their class size was large. So I was wondering if in general these vacancies are causing classes to be particularly large, or sort of what the biggest class size is, and how. I know that when I first arrived 2 years ago, there had previously been a commitment to reducing class size right when you arrived, so I was wondering if we're still sort of meeting that commitment.
We work very hard to try to keep the elementary schools balanced and try to have some sort of equity between and among class sizes. We have larger class sizes where we are in the upper elementary grades, which would be the fourth, fifth, sixth grades, where they tend to be larger. We have some small class sizes. For example, at Walton, we have 9 in first grade. Where's Megan? Is that right? 9 in first grade? 10. So we have that variety, and I think there are other first grades across the school department where that would be an anomaly, that we wouldn't have 10 first graders.
No, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Any other questions or comments?
I do have a question, and I apologize because I didn't quite hear. Does Park Ave have 2 principals, like a principal and a vice principal, or does it just have 1 principal?
They have 1 principal.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the parents said that one of the classes is being run by someone who was not a full teacher. Is that correct?
Long-term sub.
We have a number of classrooms, not only at Walton, that are being staffed by long-term substitutes, and they may not be a certified teacher.
Unfortunately, that's what's happening out there right now in the world.
So my concern with, just piggybacking on that, is what one of the parents said about the spell check. I'm really kind of baffled by
just
that.
be careful. You're just getting into personnel matters now, so we're not going to get into personnel matters. That's a review. That's as much as I would love to, we're not going to get into personnel matters. Any other questions or comments, Clarissa?
I do think it will be useful to see when we look at the test scores from last year, because I know I had a student who also had a long-term uncertified sub, and I continue to think that we should be looking at performance of students related to that, and I brought that up before, so I would really like to see that as part of the report for the testing and performance.
Yeah. All right, any other questions, comments? All right, sure.
The positions that are currently being staffed by long-term subs are those open positions that we are actively looking for people to fill?
Yes.
So resumes are being taken for those positions.
They're being advertised.
Yeah.
It's very difficult right now in this environment to staff all of our classrooms the way we would like them to be staffed. And we do advertise. We advertise through School Spring and Serving Schools. But for example, I looked at one of the 5th grade openings and how many applications we've received, and it has 0 by it. So educators are just not out there right now.
No, and they're not making moves we're not making moves this time of year either. Very rarely are we making moves this time of year. You've settled in with your classes, so unfortunately. All right, any other questions, comments, Dr. Brown? All right, school committee chairperson's report. I do have a bit of an update on the superintendent's search. So in reaction to Dr. Brown's recent news of retirement coming up at the end of June 2024, I contacted MSMA, Maine School Management Association, to get an understanding just of the pulse and the competition that will be their first soup search. I was informed from Eileen King that they will be actively conducting 5 searches starting at the beginning of December, early January. So wanting Auburn to be a part of that initial superintendent search, I will be convening a subcommittee to form. We need a superintendent search committee, and there are some who are continuing on after this term. For some of us, our term is ending and we're not seeking re-election. So I would like to take names from school committee members who would potentially be interested in serving on that subcommittee. I do want to remind the school committee that you are a part of the superintendent search. This is the subcommittee that kicks everything off, that does the community outreach, that does its members include school committee members. In the past, it's included administrators, it has included families, it has included, who else am I leaving? Staff, administrators, families, a couple of school committee members. Typically, they take the charge, they lead, And then they conduct the first interview. The second interview is conducted by all members of the school committee. So if you're not interested in being a part of that initial search, you will be, if you are reelected to your seat, you will be part of the second wave that goes through. So if you are interested, if you are staying on and you are interested in sharing that committee, let me know. I have lots of information to share with you. So I'll be looking to name someone at the next, it's something we're going to want to start pretty quickly. So I'll be looking to name someone at the next school committee meeting. Any questions for me on that one?
Would you like us to email you?
Yeah, just email me or get a hold of me. Yep, absolutely, and I'll announce it at the next meeting. All right, any other questions on that one? Okay, thank you. City Council update, the mayor is not here this evening, so let's look at committee reports. Anyone need to report out for their standing committees or any questions on the agendas or minutes? Pam? Sure, push a button.
Yep. For the past 3 years, I've chaired the new Edward Little High School Fundraising Committee, and in that time, we've raised nearly $500,000. This is mostly due in part to the very generous donation of the class of 1951, who donated $400,000 to name our glorious auditorium the Donald Gay Performing Arts Center. Other donations have come in the form of purchasing name rights to classrooms, naming plaques on auditorium seats, and a few commemorative bricks, as Mr. Conrad's report has listed. I have had the honor of working with a few school and community members in this endeavor. Now that our dream and goal of a new Edward Little High School has come to fruition and we have opened our doors, the fundraising committee will be taking the lead of the building committee and meeting quarterly. As Mr. Conrad has written and stated, the ability to purchase naming rights for such things as the gym, the LRTC programs, naming plaques for the auditorium seats, and commemorative bricks will continue to be available through the Auburn School Department website. Mr. Conrad or myself are also available if you would like to donate and you would like to speak to someone rather than going on the website. I want to sincerely thank the class of 1951 and all of those who donated and have given their time to this difficult endeavor. This was never going to be easy, and I don't even know why I took this helm. But I am proud of what we've been able to raise. We will be meeting again on Monday, November 27th at 6 o'clock in the new Edward Little Library.
Thank you, Pam, and thank you for all you've done in your efforts these last couple of years. Any other questions or comments in any of the subcommittees or committees? Hi, Jillian, go ahead.
Are we gonna name like the stadium, or is it just gonna be like the EO Stadium?
So one of the goals was that someone would want to donate. Right now, if they were to donate $500,000, they could name the stadium, just like the class of 1951 donated $400,000 in order to name the auditorium.
Because I know I was talking to a couple staff at the school, and I thought it would be great if we could possibly name it the Matt Clausen Memorial Field. In honor of Mr. Clausen. Just an idea giving out.
That's a good idea.
Great idea, thank you.
All right, any other questions, comments? All right, seeing none, move to old business. Can I entertain a motion for a second reading and speak, Karen? Can I entertain a motion for a second reading and approval of policy AUB JJE student fundraising activities? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Brian. Questions, comments on that one? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. No new business. Upcoming meetings are listed. Future agenda items are just my request for information on who would like to serve on the superintendent search committee. Any other things to add? Clarissa?
I just want to add, so the DEI, I don't even know what its status is, but it hasn't met, and I think in part it hasn't met because it doesn't, we're meeting, but we don't know where the mandate or authority comes from. Okay. And so I think that really needs to come to the full committee for discussion, because I also think there needs to be a public closure of it. I mean, it was created for a reason. I'd like that not to just be internal to the committee that we're oh, we're done, because I don't know that we are.
Sure, okay.
I would also like to add that it should not be done, that we should continue, but I agree.
All right, anything else? All right, seeing none, I'll call for a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
All right, thank you. All those in favor? Thank you, motion passes. Thank you all for coming tonight.